Hey guys, welcome to Jn'L Podcast. Today we're excited to introduce our first guest, our cousin Jocelyn. So today's episode is basically going to be a bit of a chat, a bit of an interview. We're going to ask her questions about. She's been working as a carer in the pandemic, which I'm sure has been mad. She studied as a student here, as a psychologist, and she also lived in Ghana. So we're going to talk a little bit about the cultural differences, beauty standards, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. But and you want to introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi. Also, you guys can call me JJ though, just for like simpler reasons. I'm excited to be on here. Thanks. I'm honored to be the first guest.
No problem.
Yeah, exactly. So how have you been? How has this last crazy year been for you?
2020 or like
2020.
I don't think about it. Honestly, I don't know. Like it's literally like I don't know year. Like so much happened. It was such a long year. And to think, I don't even feel like we're in 2021. I feel like we're in 2020 part 2 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like what month we're in, what week we're in, what day we're in is just
I've lost count. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So when did you graduate? When did you start kind of caring?
I graduated in. Well, I haven't really graduated. This is the thing. Because of Corona, I didn't get to actually do traditional stuff. So we'll say I finished uni because until I throw my cap, I'm not graduated.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I finished uni in June. And then it was just like just grad life, just chilling.
Yeah.
Doing nothing, looking for jobs. It was really difficult.
Yeah.
Like the whole Corona thing, it was really hard to find a job.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I thankfully landed a job as a carer. It was such a last minute resort. Goddamn. Last resort situation. Like I was a job that I said I'll take whatever I can get, and landed a job as a carer. The first couple like weeks it was intense because it's like you have to literally care for them, like you know what I mean, like care for them,
like wiping and
no.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I can't do with bodily fluids. It was just too much to handle. But then eventually, as time went on, I started doing it more and more. Funnily enough, I actually really enjoy it.
Amazing.
And it's very gratifying. I find like I wouldn't mind doing it like as a side job, not necessarily like a full time. But like if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm just bored, let me go and help out, I'll probably do that again.
Yeah, amazing. So is it one person that you have? Is it a whole home?
I work with an agency, so they would send me off to like 2 specific care homes. So different people. Yeah,
okay, amazing. So you get to like see and meet different people all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess the main thing is, how has that been with COVID, with the vulnerable thing? Yeah, tell us about that.
In terms of the COVID situation, because I'm an agency and they will send me off to places, like different places, they put in obviously PPE measures, wear a mask, hand sanitizer, check your temperature before you enter the building, but also in cases where the care home had like 1 case of COVID or 2 cases, however the cases they had, they would obviously isolate the resident. And me, the agency, I would have no contact with them because obviously if I'm in contact, I can't go to other places. So they just, so for example, actually the other, like last 2 weeks actually, there was a resident who had COVID. He was on the bottom floor, so I couldn't go to the bottom floor. I couldn't interact with any residents on the bottom floor. I couldn't interact with any of the carers that were on that bottom floor. So it was complete isolation, just to prevent any infection and such.
Yeah, wow. That must be quite scary, constantly just trying to go to work, but thinking about each thing I do.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because sometimes like let's say like some residents need 2 people to help them, like stand up or whatever. So everyone will be busy and I'm the only one that's not busy and they need help on the bottom floor, but I can't go to the bottom floor. So it's like,
yeah, wow.
I'm just stuck. And it's also really, I wouldn't say scary, but just what's what I'm looking for here? It's not scary, but it's like uncomfortable. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
It's like it's insert word having to go
One
into
thing
work.
or something.
Yeah, I just can't think of a word.
Like anxious, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Anxious is like I'm going into work. I think, okay, so I could or I couldn't. Who knows? But
Oh.
I don't think that I could. Like, I take it as it is.
Yeah, that's a good way to be. Louise, do you think you could do this? Do you think you could be a carer?
Maybe. Like, yeah, like talking to the old people and stuff. Well, vulnerable people. Yeah, vulnerable people, sorry.
Fair enough. It's not for everybody.
I think that would be quite nice, because just like helping people, because it's always nice for them to talk to people, because it seems like they'd be so isolated from everyone else. Like, yeah, so I feel like you'd have to have carers would have to be people who are good at talking and like being interested in what you have to say. So yeah, I think I could. The body, well, we all know that.
I was gonna say. Yeah, well, you're a cosmetic person now, pretty much. But I befriend a guy, and such a sweet guy. But he has schizophrenia. Obvious reasons I won't go into too many personal details, but he's such an interesting and nice guy to speak to in this difficult situation. So I can definitely see why speaking to people in vulnerable situations is just like I can open your eyes and meet someone that you never would have met before. But to physically look after them and kind of have more of like have their almost like their life in your hand to an extent as well must be a whole different thing.
Yeah, no, it's not fun. I'm not gonna lie. That's not fun at all. Like, there was one guy who was on life support, so he was like, obviously getting near his death. And I don't mean to laugh, but it was so sad to see. Like, bro, I can't even, I don't know, it was just so, like, dang, yeah.
How does that make you feel, kind of being face to face with something like that? I don't know. Obviously it's not something we usually see, especially at our age, that much of, but to be around that sort of stuff more, how's that made you feel?
Grateful, really grateful. It was like it was nice to help him, even though he was like, okay, not in the nicest way possible. I feel like he was purposely not eating just so he can get there quicker. But regardless of like how he was doing it, it was nice to like put on the music for him. Like, even if he can't speak or see or whatever, it's like we're helping him make his last days enjoyable. So
amazing,
doing that, bringing him food, talking to him, like it's just nice, you know, just making somebody feel, regardless of what state they're in, making them feel like this life has been a great life and I'm happy to leave it as it is.
That's amazing. And then, so where would you then, it's an interesting question for you. So obviously you just graduated, you've just come from being a student and student life. Where do you kind of stand on this whole kind of young people going out, their contribution to COVID and everything like that? Because obviously you're still a young person. Also, you're also a carer, so you know what it's like to see like how it may affect certain people. So where do you stand on this whole issue right now?
Oh man.
Safe space.
Yeah, you can say what you want. You can say like, I went out clubbing and then the next day I was wiping their asses.
So I remember there was one time at work, there was this woman who went on a whole rant about how people my age are just ruining things for everybody, and I was like, like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, okay, personally, in all honesty, I hope I don't get backlash. I understand. I understand why younger people would go out. I fully understand, because even me, I'm suffering. Like, I just want to go out, like just one day, just for 30 minutes. I'll be happy just out.
Yeah.
Honestly, but at the same time, it's like it's difficult. I can't lie. It's very difficult. I don't think there's like a right answer necessarily, because I don't know. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I think just even the way you're answering the question in terms of like, you could fully see both sides, but it doesn't mean there's an obvious one answer. That's kind of the whole problem, I guess.
It's sticky. I can't lie. I came up with a theory though, that with the way this virus is mutating and just causing such havoc, I just feel like I feel like everybody's gonna get it. I just have this feeling that everybody is going to get at least one variant. I don't know which one.
Mm.
And then eventually things will start to like cool down. Like you can't avoid not getting it. That's just my theory.
Yeah.
But I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I get what you're saying. And I guess obviously it's just a case of like hoping that by the time like beds and the whole Nightingale Hospital having more staff and stuff like that, I guess it's just like delaying that until a stage where maybe like treatments are better or there's more space and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I think we're gonna live with this for such a long time. Like the flu, everyone gets a flu like at least once. So I definitely think you are right. Wow, that's amazing. So okay, so I guess you just graduated as well. Not graduated, sorry. You just finished uni.
Exactly.
Pending. So yeah, I'm curious because I'm doing psychology now as well. Actually, I made a crazy conversion from engineering to psychology, so I'm on that route.
Why did you switch?
Yeah, so basically, like I did engineering purely because I liked the sort of subjects I went into it in school, and it's like a doctor, lawyer, engineer. It's like it kind of fell within like what the parents wanted, kind of thing, and I was interested in it. You know, it's the point where I even did like 4 years of it and everything else. I went out of that, graduated, and then look, I'm making it my interview now. And then I worked in a bit. I worked in London, and it was okay, and it was like good job, blah blah blah. And I was grateful through COVID, but I just think there's so much like what you're saying about being grateful as being a carer, like giving your kind of career, what you do to help other people. There's so much part of that I felt I wanted to do with my life, and also it's so interesting as a subject as well. And so I felt like maybe COVID gave me the push needed to make that shift. But I know studying psychology now, like the opportunities are so complicated in terms of what you want to do. So I'm really curious to find out what it is that you want to do one day, or has that changed? Or
I went into uni doing social psychology because I just wanted to know why people were the way they were. I've always been interested by people's behaviors, mindsets, thoughts, patterns, all that stuff. I did have like an aspiration to be like a therapist. That hasn't completely changed, but it's more developed into like mental health counseling, like asylum people. But I will be very honest, I don't know if I actually do want to do that, purely because I don't like education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go through that whole masters, then doctors, then this, then that. It's just
trust it.
I don't know. The idea
and the money as well.
Oh God, it's so expensive.
Like the student debt, please. I don't need more of it. I really don't.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. It's never too late to really go into it if I really wanted to. But
yeah, definitely.
That's like a side.
So would you consider like social work, for example? Not quite caring, not quite doctor, masters, whatever, but like something like that?
Anything that involves people. Can't lie.
Amazing.
I'm not. I think for me, I quite enjoy retail sometimes. So I wouldn't mind working in like a high-end, like high luxury retail brand.
Yeah, hospitality kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, that's like where I'm at right now. Maybe HR. I feel like HR's like.
Oh yeah, that's a good one for people skills.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely. So I think Louise had some questions about, we was like, because obviously you had a beauty kind of channel and you and your sister were doing that sort of thing. And I feel like for a lot of people, we're interesting to hear what you think about kind of standards in living in Ghana and then doing that kind of thing, speaking about that kind of thing in England. So I'll let Louise take over from here.
Yeah, just like thinking about what it's like to be like a mixed race person in Ghana, what it's like to be a mixed race person in the UK, what it's like in general. Like, because I've always thought a lot about Western beauty standards and what it's like to myself, like being black girl here. So yeah, thoughts?
Okay, being mixed race in Ghana. Bear in mind, I haven't been to Ghana in like 5 years. So
yeah.
But from when I was there, being light skinned or just lighter in general was like beautiful. I don't know why. I think it roots in racism and like colorism and all that stuff. So as far as I could go back, yeah, being light skinned was like you get clout automatically. Like it's crazy. Coming to the UK now. Ooh, do you know what it is? Recently, on Twitter platforms and stuff like that, there's been a lot of talk about colorism and light-skinned girls and dark-skinned girls, and there's just a whole, just like, it's like when people talk about it, it's really sensitive, so you need to really, really watch your step.
Yeah.
With you.
And what I've found is, how do I say this? It's difficult. It's it's difficult because
Be free.
like no, because there's just so many like people out there that have such different perspectives. Okay, from what I understand. Okay, for me personally, let me say this. For me personally, whether you're black, white, yellow, orange, I don't know, like, you're still a person. I see you as a person. That's it. You're beautiful. You're whatever you are. But the argument is that light-skinned people, so lighties, they would say lighties, get more recognition, more clout, more this, more that, than the dark-skinned girls. And they see that as like, it's like so it's the same beauty standard as Ghana, but just a lot more like seasoning on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot more tension, a lot more beef surrounding it as well. Like when guys would be like, "Oh, my preference is just light-skinned girls. That's just my preference." And girls, the dark-skinned girls would be like, "Oh, is it because she's light-skinned?" And they'll be like, "Oh, just an insecurity you have. Get over it." Like, it's really, I don't know. I just feel like that whole argument is, it's rude and racist. Let's face the facts. Like, that's just what it is. And I don't feel like it's a thing where people really fully get over it. Like, it's so deep rooted.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, like, it is what it is, but realistically, I don't feel like people will fully get over that whole like thin line between dark skin and light skin. If that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know.
What do you make of that, Louise?
I was at just with some friends, and this light skinned boy was there, right? All fun and games for like a few hours, and then my other friend is light skinned, and then this is bearing in mind he just met us that day, and then he was like to my friend, I'm gonna give him a different name. Let's say my friend's called Peter, just in case. Like, Peter, and the other guy, Tom, not the most light skinned or whatever. And Tom like to Peter, well, like, you know that you're light skinned, and I can teach you like how to use your light skinnedness to like get girls and stuff, and like I'll take you under my wing, and like you
teach you.
I sat there, and obviously because I was the only other black person in the room, I was creasing. I was literally like, what, so you think you're a prestige lighty then? And his face just
you said it.
Pipe down, you said it. He literally, I was just like, to think that he actually said that out loud, and then he had to backtrack, and he'd be like, no offense, like black, darker people or like white people, I love everyone. And I was like, no.
So what do you guys think?
You know, there's certain light skins that think they're better, but they will never admit it. And it's like, why? Like,
yeah, definitely. So what would you guys think in terms of, so we've spoken about like lighter skinned people and darker skinned people, but black people in general, yeah. So what would you put it in terms of white people? Like, do you feel like we have, like, as mixed race people, not an advantage, but like almost like this weird preference even against white people? Or do you think it's levels, like it's white is most preferred still, then it's mixed race people, and then it's darker skinned people in the top conversation? Like, where do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like sometimes mixed race people even have like an advantage over some white people, or is it, it's not like clear cut?
Good question.
I think it might be, I don't know about now, but like music and everything, it might be light skin, white, black. Maybe that's a lie. I don't really know.
Okay, if we're being honest.
yes.
If we're being very
honest,
very like brutally honest, the white people will always have a hand over us for whatever reason. I don't actually know, because like I don't get like, I get racism, but I don't get it because like, why? Like, it makes no sense to me. But yeah, white people, then light skins, then dark skins. That's just how it's gonna go, unfortunately. but but in terms of like the black community, this is the thing. Okay,
Yeah.
Before I even okay, no, let me say. Sorry, guys. Let me say that.
It's alright. Yeah.
In the black community, I think unfortunately light skins will have an advantage over the dark skins just because at the end of the day it's actually a white man's world. So, and white people, as much as they want to deny it, are also slightly, even just the smidgen racist. It's just a smidgen. It doesn't have to be 5%. It can be 0.0001%. It still matters. So so having the lighter complexion is an advantage. But now the question I want to ask you guys, I'm going to ask you guys now.
Flipping it, go on.
Yeah. is, do you think light skins can call themselves a part of the black community?
Oh, this is something I've been looking at so much on Instagram, you know.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. There was one girl that said she was actually black and people got upset. So I'm interested, like, are light skins black?
Go on, Louise. Take it away. You go first.
Because I don't even know where to put myself. Because obviously I'm like a mix of like light skin and dark skin. Some people would say I'm dark skin. Some people would say I don't even know what I am. So that's confusing itself. Yes and no. I feel like it depends.
So I basically think it's the context you're in decides for you. So like we've all lived in Ghana, right? And I feel like in Ghana we might be called we're only like a white person just because we're even like vaguely light skin. So they decided we're white. Or if in this country, especially this country or even America, or whatever, if you're even like a slight bit tanned even or whatever, or maybe have your curly hair, or maybe they just know that you have black somewhere, you automatically just like, it's just black.
Yeah.
So I feel like almost it's not even about what you yourself see yourself as. It's just in that context, what people decide. That's kind of what is the biggest factor, I feel. So yeah, I feel like it's like, and especially I think it also depends on what people are used to. So like if you're the lightest person that someone's ever seen or the darkest person that someone's ever seen, they're going to see you as like the most extreme. Like I bet you, Louise, you probably have some people that like don't know many black people and they think you're fully black, right? You're probably the darkest person they've seen.
That, oh, you mix. It's usually like, oh, where you from? Oh, and then I say where I'm from and they're like, oh, that's strange.
Yeah, for sure.
So you are.
Like, I don't think you are. Yeah, so I just feel like it's mostly about what the context you're in decides for you, kind of thing. And then obviously that kind of comes into everything you're saying about like who's the majority and the bias stuff and all that kind of thing. Like you kind of just slot in wherever you may, like you can't really decide, oh, in this community I'm going to be lighter or like considered more white or considered more black. It's like people just make judgments about you and there's nothing you can really do apart from like be you.
I feel like it's a lot to do with like I feel like it's mainly to do with black women. I don't know if that's a crazy assumption to make, but like it's not. But like when it's all like on Instagram and stuff, it is usually black women saying things about like other light skinned women, like you're not like black, you don't understand what it's like to be there. It's a lot to do with like hair and like exactly like beauty. It's always to do with like, well, you have whiter hair, so you can't be included in the natural whatever community or something like that. So I think it's a lot to do with women, and it's just a bit of a sticky one.
I agree.
So did you mean more like beauty or did you mean more like the general community, like a community of people? Did you mean like are light-skinned people in the same class of like difficulties as darker skinned girls, or do you just mean like are they part of them in general?
Are they part like would I be wrong in saying I feel a part of the black community?
No.
Well, definitely not, because I feel like
it's so different, especially like food, music, like everything. Is to like, do you know what I mean? It's to do with your black. Like the only differentiating characteristic will be your skin and your hair, but like culturally, you're as black as the next, like the blackest person in the room. Do you get what I mean? Especially you've lived in
Africa.
You've lived in Africa most of your life. I mean, no one can take that away from you.
Well, this is it, because like I could meet somebody who feels like they're more stereotypically black than me because of like Louise was saying, like food, music, X, Y, and Z. But I've lived in Ghana, albeit like 1 or 2 years, not born and raised like you, for example, but it's like what is black at the end of the day? Is it the culture? Is it the like background, the skin? Is it, you know, like for example, if somebody is white, born in Ghana. So for example, how long has your dad been in Ghana for? Did he live in Ghana for?
I don't know, probably as long as I did. So probably like 12 years.
So does he? Okay, I don't think I don't know this, but I don't think he necessarily called himself black. But does he see himself as Ghanaian or quasi Ghanaian or?
I don't think so. Don't know.
No?
Never asked him that.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. I don't know, because I feel like it's different if he was born and raised there.
Yeah.
Rather he was born and raised here than he moved across countries. But yeah, I wouldn't think he would consider himself that. I did have
friends like from school who were.
Yeah. But I had like one friend who I think she was born and raised in Ghana. I think, and even though she's white, oh my god, it's shocking sometimes. She was speaking, it's like the strongest accent I've ever heard in my life. But I don't know. But I feel like that's where it gets sticky, because you can be born and raised in Ghana and have all the culture and everything, but at the end of the day, it's like if the police pull up, who's gonna get it?
So, but maybe in that case, like if she opens her mouth to start speaking with a Ghanaian accent, I guess a Ghanaian accent is a bit different to like maybe like the sort of accent that most black people have here, because obviously it's not Ghanaian, it's a London accent or wherever they're from.
Yeah.
But it's more of an urban accent, let's say. But like if she opens her mouth to an African accent, I guess, yeah, is that then like a little as in, let's say there was racism against African peoples, African like racism, whatever it is, whether that's like being illegal or like whatever it is, then she might get some of that with her. I don't know. I guess that's a lot less powerful than.
I know, because even the fact that she's white, I still wouldn't think they might not even though they hear the accent and think that's an African accent, they might still be like, oh, it's probably some random European country we've never heard of. Do you get what I mean? Like,
or put it like this. Okay, so like if there was a, I've always used this example. Yeah, if there's a black guy comes out of a Merc, he's wearing a suit, you know, he has a posh accent, all that sort of stuff, right? And he comes down the street, and then you have a white guy cuts in his eyebrows, like talking in slang. These aren't things necessarily to do with being black, but like we're talking about stereotypes of things, right? Then I might think as a police officer that my bias might go towards, oh, he fits my profile that I'm looking for more. The guy in the with the accent, or what clothes he's wearing, or how he carries himself, X, Y, and Z. Like that might be where my bias goes. But the black guy with the suit, the nice car, the posh accent, it won't necessarily go to him. So I feel like sometimes it depends on the whole profile, the voice, all this. So I feel like in that sense, it's kind of like biases against people from a whole different spectrum of things. But obviously skin color is always going to be the most obvious thing that someone's going to see from a mile off. So what do you guys think about that? Or do you feel like, no, it's always 100% skin color, like the guy in the tracksuit with the whatever else, he's going to be seen higher above the black guy in the suit?
I'll tell you what, yeah. Taking your example,
yeah,
the black guy would be looked at very suspiciously, like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You know,
you know that shit.
And then the white guy would be like, oh, he probably has like mental health issues, or his parents. Like they literally they will make up excuses upon excuses for the raggedy ass looking white people, but let them come out looking all sweet, and it's, oh my god, where he get that from? No.
Okay, so you think it's like a hatred and jealousy comes out, and it's like he must have stolen that car, he must have stolen that.
Jealousy only, but it's literally like, it's so, you're brainwashed, the condition, literally socialized to think that just because a black man has an Apple Watch or a Merc or a flipping jet, that must mean that, oh, he must have done something bad to get him bank, fucking hell. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So even that, it's just like, so like they might be like, oh, he's a drug dealer or he's a whatever. Like it just can't be for the same virtuous path they got there.
Yes, they will always think of some next underground way of getting it, rather than maybe just has it.
Okay, so let me put it on this point then, and Louise, you can also give your piece on this. I'm sure that's kind of something that you're interested in as well. So do you feel like, since being in the UK, or when you go back to Ghana or whatever it is, the whole code switching thing, do you feel like if you're in an interview or if you're around certain groups of people, do you feel like you need to act more white or do you need, or vice versa? If you're with around black people, do you feel like you need to act more black, or do you feel like you're always just you, no matter what?
Me or Louise?
Well, sorry, you first, and then Louise can say like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Definitely.
what would be an example of that then?
Let's say I go for an interview. Okay, so good story actually. I had an interview with Prada one time,
Mm-hmm.
and an Italian man. And the minute I entered that room, I knew I had to like sit up, smile, you know, put on my like obviously interview shoes, but also sound as articulate as I possibly could. Like,
Yeah.
it was, the switch was crazy. Then the minute I came out, I called my friend, and then boom, regular, back to normal business. So it's literally like it's a switch. And I remember, and also on the floor, when I got the job, there were obviously other Italian, Europeans, whatever. There was one black guy, and me, this one black guy. It was crazy that I talked to him in a certain way, then switch automatically when I'm talking to the other people. It was like, yeah.
And did you feel more comfortable in one way or the other? So like, I guess obviously if you're in an interview, you're not comfortable, are you? Like obviously just trying to impress. Aside from just that stuff, it's like the professional stuff. But do you feel like, so the whole black code, do you feel like that's what's comfortable to you, or do you feel like sometimes you have to even push that further when it's people like, if in the ACS, were you in part of the ACS at uni?
Yeah.
So do you feel like when you're in the ACS, for example, do you feel like every single thing other word out of your mouth has to be something like that lends itself to being black sometimes?
No.
Even if you want to say like, I love Taylor Swift, I don't know what it is.
Nah. Nah. I was always very like comfortable with who I am and what I liked, whether it was a white person or whatever. Like I was always very, actually recently, okay, we'll get to that. But before, I was very okay with I like Taylor Swift. Okay, what now? What are you gonna do about it? You can't do anything about it. Like I was comfortable with it. It was more how I communicated. Like the slang would probably be different. The way my body language was different, but in terms of what I would say wouldn't differ. White people, I wouldn't say I listen to Kodak Black around white people. I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I would tell that I listen to Afrobeats or rap or whatever, but I wouldn't specify who exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting, actually. So you feel like...
Oh, no offense. Well,
sorry?
What artist? But like, specifically with that sort of music, you might not be because it's like such a small genre, you'd be like, oh, are you even going to know who I'm talking about?
The Afrobeats and stuff?
Yeah.
For white people?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I just say Afrobeats. They don't need to know. Even when I say Afrobeats, they're like, oh, what's that? So
yeah,
I don't even get into it with them.
But everyone knows.
Everyone knows who what?
Everyone knows who Taylor Swift is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess it's that as well. So like, okay, so what you're saying almost is like you have to do less like changes in the black community than you do for the white community. But do you feel like that's part of, because you're in a predominantly white country in England? Like if you were back in Ghana, do you feel like are there certain stuff that was like quite alien to being Ghanaian that you feel in the same way you wouldn't mention? Do you know what I mean? No?
Don't think so.
No, fair enough. You went to a French school, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was that? Because that's all different.
Oh my god, I remember being so jealous that when I came, I was like, I want to learn French. Or, you know, when I used to come to your house all the time and you'd be doing like French lessons, and I'd be like, I can only speak.
That French school was. Now that I look back on it, oh my gosh! Now that I look back on it, oh my gosh, wow. No, there was a lot of prejudice, maybe that's the word. Like, because it was a French school, there were mostly white people.
Oh wow.
In that school, and all the teachers were white as well.
Oh,
wow.
I remember we got a white principal. We had like white everything basically. There were obviously black people there, but the ratio was more white. And I remember being bullied. I always wondered why was I being bullied, and it was always, oh my gosh, it all makes sense now. So basically it was all like the black people. Like there was a group of black people that that just got hit on every single time. And there was a selected few who were like the popular kids, but come to think of it, they were popular because they had nice things.
Yeah.
So the people, myself included, with the people that were being bullied, obviously had regular stuff, not branded, just regular schmegular books and bags, whatever. And they would get bullied. Oh my God, they were really like isolated. It was bad. And now that I think about it, it's because it didn't. One, we were young, so I don't feel like they were probably aware what they were doing, but they were behaving in a way that like, oh, because one, you're black, and two, you ain't got nice things, that must mean you're like bottom barrel.
Right.
So yeah,
that's such a weird environment to be in an African country, but in like a predominantly white system in that, because obviously school is where you go 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's most of life. So that is such a weird thing to navigate, for sure. Wow. And I'm just trying to think, because in our school, definitely majority black, Roman Ridge, right? Because you went to Roman Ridge after, you don't remember? Yeah, you were quite young, to be fair.
Yeah, in my classes,
yeah.
But I still feel like we would, like, it was majority black, but obviously because it was actually a British school, so I think it was still like geared towards more British stuff, like the whole colorism issue that we've been talking about, or like liking quite British stuff, and like you were saying, like people have the nicer kind of stuff would still be kind of put to the top, I think. But yeah, it still wasn't. I think there was one guy who was white in my class, and that was about it. So to have a whole school full of white people in Ghana, do you feel like maybe they were defensive? Do you feel like they almost felt that they kind of had to like click together because they were in a Ghanaian country, and that's why they were like bullying you, like, we feel weird, so we're going to make you feel weird, kind of thing?
I don't know.
Food for thought.
Yeah. There's food for.
What was that childhood trauma like?
Yeah, because bullies are insecure in the day, aren't they? Put your psychologist hat on.
That is a very wow. I don't actually know how to answer that.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to crack it all today. But no, it's just that is like so interesting, because like no one would have ever experienced things like that. And I think, so an example I would give in England, I always say when people talk about like white people being the majority versus other ethnic minorities and things, I think like it kind of depends where you are. So like you can get places. Okay, in Birmingham, where I went to uni, for example, I'm sure there are schools where white people are the minority by far. Like honestly, like where most people either Indian or black or whatever. So like in that system, again, they're in England, where it's a white country, but they're in a school system where most people are black, and I feel like they probably get bullied for being white.
Yeah.
And so they probably go on social media like saying like, oh, you're the oppressor, you're the bully, X, Y, and Z. You're the one that's like getting the beauty standards. But they probably felt like, oh, I never felt like I could fit in. Like people maybe they wouldn't have the same thing with attraction, because I feel like ultimately we still live in the West, and like music and media are still geared towards white people, but they probably still felt a little bit bullied. Like, oh, that person's got dead food. Oh, that person's got dead music, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
It's weird. It's possible that it's like that.
Yeah, no. I actually agree. I think in schools where there are mostly Black, Indian, like them kind of people, one white person, I think it's like herd mentality. So there's this concept of conformity. If one person does it, more than three people do it, more people are allowed to do it. So if there's a whole school, if it's like one person against if it's 1,000 people against one person, that person is most likely gonna get bullied for being like different, whatever.
Different, yeah.
That literally, it makes sense. Because I remember in my school, I went to TIS, a boarding school, and I remember this one white kid just came out of nowhere, and he was white, he was pale, and people used to get onto him like, oh, look at your skin, you're so white. And then, like, they pinched him, and then like the blood would come, like, when you pinch them, and like,
yeah. Shouldn't laugh, that's really bad.
Sorry, I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
No, they used to get onto him, and like because he was weird, he wasn't weird, but he was weird. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
They get onto him. I can't lie. I will not lie. But I'm pretty sure if it was the other way around, it would happen as well. So I don't know if it's racism as well.
Yeah, I think this is maybe where like we would differ. Is that I think
just like someone like xenophobia, just someone being different to you in any way, shape, or form. Like if he was disabled, for instance, but black, maybe they'd have something to. Yeah, someone.
They might.
So sorry. No, people make disabled people.
No, fair enough. No, yeah, true.
Any comedy.
But this is where I would say, like, you know how early on in the show you were like, all white people have a bit of racism in them, like whether it's 1%, 5%, whatever it is. I would agree with you, but to the extent where I feel like everybody has racism in them, everybody has bias in them, and obviously this whole thing of like power dynamics and racism means black versus white, all this sort of stuff, obviously means that majority of the situations that we're talking about, the spaces that we're talking about, it's going to be like white countries, a white majority, white culture, and so it's normally going to go that route. But I feel like it's always going to be natural to be biased against people. So whether it's that example you just gave about like being racist to that white kid, or the example I gave about being racist to a white kid in like even in UK in like an Indian black community, I feel like everybody's racist, and I feel like even black people are racist against other black people. Black people are racist against, you know, maybe it's Chinese people, Indian people,
I don't know if it's
white people. Do you know what I mean?
How do you define racism? Because racism is like.
This is the problem, yeah.
And
say again?
Okay, this is another thing. But racism is defined as prejudice or discrimination against a minority.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be racist to Chinese when they're not really the minority?
So if you see it like, again, so what context are they the minority, right? So what I mean is like, so again?
Is it because like they're not the minority in the world, they're the majority in the world?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you an example of racism against Chinese people. Like, okay, so the college system in America, yeah. So there's affirmative action that has quotas for typically black people to get into US colleges. So obviously it's been there kind of historically from having black colleges and black people not allowed to go to university, all that sort of stuff. And obviously today in terms of just like equality. But then Chinese students are discriminated the other way. And it's harder for them to get in university with the same scores and everything else, because like ultimately every single year the Chinese students are getting the best grades and getting into the colleges, even more so than the white people, like way more so than the white people. And so like everyone thinks like, Asians are smart, Asians are whatever. So it's kind of like saying, they've just got this natural intelligence or natural whatever, so we need to have less of them. But really, like they're that way because they work hard. Do you know what I mean? Like. And I feel like there is racism against Chinese people, even like coronavirus, right? The Chinese virus, like there are people in London get beaten up for being Chinese and stuff like that. So I think when we say the context of racism is used as like a power dynamic between the majority or the powerful versus the less powerful, the minority, I feel like it's very context specific, because like, is that majority in the country? Is that majority in the world? Is that a majority in the school, friendship group, workplace? Like, yeah, I feel like there's so many different ecosystems. Like, it's not just about one thing. So as I say, like it's kind of complicated, and I feel like, yeah. So if you want to say racism has to be a tool of like oppression, it can be that against someone's minority, but doesn't necessarily mean the white person is always going to be that powerful and the majority in every situation. If that makes sense. I rambled there a lot, but that kind of explains where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
What do you think? No.
What do I think about the bias?
Or do you think no, that's always secondary to overall racism against black people?
Wait, could you say that again? Could you explain it?
Yeah, so like basically I'm saying, even if we're talking about racism, not just like, so prejudice and discrimination are very different in the sense of like, prejudice is just a bias, like black people go to dancing, Chinese people are smart, white people are whatever, not funny or whatever. And then discrimination is acting on that, so like not giving them jobs or like bullying them, X, Y, and Z. So I'm saying like, even if you just want to focus on the discrimination part where it's action, and even if you then say like, because it's action, the only people that can like do those actions are people with power, people in the majority. So I'm saying, even if we're talking about only that side of it, not just like bias and prejudice, then even if like it's a black person who's a minority in a country, they might also be the majority in their school or majority in that space, whether it's like music culture, music or whatever. There might be a majority in a space that affects that white person. So yeah, their school, their career choice, whatever. So I'm saying like in those spaces, do you feel like do you think that's possible? That like yes, you might that a white person can experience racism in a particular like context.
Like music, maybe
Or still
not.
no.
What do you think? Like rap?
Eminem is a really good rapper.
That's one
Yeah, he is.
person out of all the rappers.
No, there's because Julian, amazing white rappers. I just think it's stereotypes for black people to know how to rap more. So actually, yeah, okay, you made sense now. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, good point. But
yeah, and there's 10 black people all vibing, and then a white person walks in and is like, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna rap for you." I feel like
it'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I feel like Eminem's like it's not just a white person as well. I feel like kind of like his culture of being the hillbilly from where he's from, that kind of minority mentality of like I've got to fight every day to survive, resonated with the black community as well, because it's a different kind of community being like a trailer trash hillbilly, that kind of like prejudice versus being like in the hood or whatever. But it's a similar kind of like thing. I think that's why it resonated directly. It wasn't just like lyrically he was good, which he is, like he's a genius, but he's also had the same sort of message in the genre, but he's white. You know, so
yeah, like if private school James Arthur St. John was gonna go rap. Oh.
Bruh, I would not believe that. Okay.
Yeah, it would be different to the culture, yeah, for sure.
Okay, that
Probably have to do like poetry grand slams or something like that, but
okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But I still feel like they would have the upper hand in the game.
Which game though? Which game we play? And that's the point.
I see the rap.
Really? I'm gonna have to.
I think we'll still have the upper hand just because like they'd probably actually it's difficult. I don't know.
So I feel like take me versus a white guy from just like I've had a privileged upbringing, no doubt about it. But if I walked on, I spoke with the right like accent, I carried myself right, whatever it is, and I was good at rapping, I feel like I could just come on and like seamlessly fit into like the black scene in terms of the music. Whereas if a white guy came in, like I don't know, Macklemore, like someone like that, they have to try so much harder to be accepted on that same level. Like I think there's something that isn't it like Drake or people like this had a relatively I don't know this, but like I remember Drake getting some sort of hate because he had like a relatively like easy upbringing, but he speaks about like hardships of being black and X, Y, and Z. Like he's from Canada, it's a little bit different. So I feel like just because we're black, there's an assumption that it's our culture that we're rapping about or speaking about or whatever, but it might have nothing to do with our actual experience. Whereas a white person might have a much more like someone who grows up in the exact same community as a black person. Yes, they might have certain other privileges, but if they still had free school meals and like they still got arrested and X, Y, and Z, like they might have like Dappy, for example, like might have a similar place to rap from than most of the people in that in the business, whereas I wouldn't, but I can pretend easier because I'm black. I've really hammered home that part about reverse racism and stuff like that, so this is your interview at the end of the day.
To be fair. But I feel like that's racism. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's racism. I feel like it's more like a superiority complex or something, not necessarily racism.
I feel like it's
or like so, but
I feel like it's the same thing, but it's like like obviously we're talking about anecdotal situations, like one situations like Eminem or one person, whatever. With racism, I feel like obviously there's a significant period of history with it, and there's like maybe a bigger pool of stuff to pull from. So it's like, oh, it's like systemic racism, for example, saying like no one in the system needs to be racist, but if the system is racist, it's still the same issue. So I guess like it sounds like I'm just bringing out individual examples, but that's not as deep as like institutional racism, stuff like that. But I just think like the main thing is that we all need to understand like our prejudices and the way we think and stuff like that, because ultimately that's the only way that we're truly all going to be equal.
Exactly. But that's a very that's an ideal. You know, I feel like
Yeah, for sure.
there's not going to be people that's going to like admit. Let's take America, for example. Oh my God, the Trump. Have you seen that behavior? Like storm into the Capitol because Trump didn't win. Seriously.
But again, I liken that a little bit to.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go hero.
Like link that sort of behavior of like my Trump is better to like racism or whatever topic it is. Like there's an ideal of if everybody can recognize their own prejudices actually, and what's that word I'm looking for?
Bias?
Not bias.
No.
Privilege?
That's it. Privilege.
I knew it was
and what's it? Oh, God damn. If everybody can recognize their privilege and prejudices and then the world will be a much better place. However, there's certain individuals such as the Trump people that are so hell-bent on the fact that no, I'm better, you're that it's just not achievable. I don't think it's achievable.
So I think there are people like that, but then also I think a lot of the whole Trump thing, if you talk like people that talk about why the whole Trump experiment happened, was a lot of people they're not that privileged apart from the majority, the white side. It's that they're poor and they haven't got a job or whatever. They might be less educated, which is definitely thrown at them, and that's why they were so desperate to grasp onto something that appealed to them. Maybe you could say like it was like a white supremacy appeal of like suddenly you go from a struggling situation to no, you actually should be at the top just because you're white. There are some group of people like that, I'm sure, but I think a lot of it basically came from the fact that like they were struggling and they felt Trump was a person to take them back to the top. Now, whether that was to the top through like the right ways, whether that was the top through like racial superiority, that's I guess a separate thing. But I feel like the kind of people, like if you're a billionaire, you're not going to be rioting and getting arrested or whatever. If you're rich, if you're doing well, you're not going to be rioting, right? Because those people got arrested, those people lost their jobs. So I feel like those are desperate people still. But because obviously they're not black, we maybe not assume they're poor. We don't assume like they're uneducated or whatever. We assume they're just racist. But I feel like if you have to be desperate to do that kind of madness.
No. What I think is true, they might have just been in a situation where Trump was probably going to help them. But Trump himself was a racist. So the way he was going about to get these people to the top was through getting black people down. And I'm not sure if Biden's a racist. He might be. I don't know.
Biden is 1,000% a racist.
Biden, but I feel like the way Trump where I'm not thinking. I don't know about politics and like specifically American politics.
Yeah, fair enough.
But just on like from my head, let me just make this up quickly. Let's say Trump was more blatantly a racist than Biden was. So Trump will purposely be like, not Americans, Mexicans get out, black people kill them. Like he didn't really care about the minorities as such. So these Trump protesters are realistically only upset, from what I understand anyways, are only really upset because now there's no one to really say who cares about the minorities. Biden will be like, oh yeah, like it's fine, we'll just figure it out on the down low, but like do you know what I mean? Like he'll cover it up, but then Trump will be like, I don't give a shit. Okay, what now?
I think that's what's
black protesters with that George Floyd? Yeah. He said he called them thugs. He called them thugs on live TV.
Well, some of them were thugs.
Some of them were thugs. No, no, not even
live TV. That's a big.
But I think what scares me is like with Trump, he will say exactly what he's thinking and all means on live TV, like you say, blatant. Like he will say exactly what he's thinking, and so like because he does that, he says insensitive, offensive stuff, like you say. But what scares me about Biden is that, like you say, like on the down low, he's racist, but like that's why he sneaks it down and he shakes back people's hands or whatever. But really, this is a guy who like says nonsense like, oh, if you don't vote for me, then you don't count as a black person, or you know, like plays Despacito as a cultural Mexican song, or all sorts of nonsense like that. So for me, it's like at least Trump goes like, oh, if you're a black person and you're struggling, he might say like, that's your own fault, which is insensitive, right? But like at least you can challenge him on it, and he'll just be honest about what he's saying. His honest opinions might be racist and whatever, but like he's honest, so you can. Whereas Biden, for me, just represents someone that like just tells people what they want to hear.
Your classic politician who's a lying manipulator.
Okay, but in the grand scheme of things, guys, every politician is how we describe Biden to be.
Yeah.
Trump, what was he even doing as president, realistically? So
he was doing some good things.
Triggered.
As a president, he was doing some good things. Oh.
Yeah.
An earthquake. No.
Imagine.
Anyway, as a president, like laws he passed, so like some of them were good. As a person, he was just shit. Do you get what I mean?
He was a selfish businessman, and the way I see businessmen is like
sometimes they get the job done.
They haven't got time to just be racist. If they have to be racist, they'll be racist. But like, as long as they're making money, they don't care. They're on their side of money, basically. You know what I mean? Like, whatever's good for them at that moment, they'll do. So I feel like if Trump felt like he needed to be racist to get ahead, he'll do that. If Trump felt like black people need to be his best friend to do that, he'll do that. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like it's less, oh, I just hate black people, and more, he's just a selfish guy after his own needs kind of thing, which is not necessarily what you want as a president of a country. But yeah, it's a crazy complicated issue. But
you could argue that the Democrats were also using the whole black thing to their advantage as well. Like, black people feel like this, so we need to use their struggle to get ahead in the political race, if you get what I mean. And like,
definitely.
so like spurring on the violence, spurring on everything to make their agenda look better.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be the savior. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. The white savior thing.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, they love to play the savior, but when it comes down to the dirty, they ain't going to do none.
Exactly.
So
if you do street interviews to say like, how's your life been over the last 4 8 years under Democrats, they're like, oh shit. They say all that they're gonna do all this stuff, blah blah blah. It's like with the NHS, like everyone votes one way and it says, oh, we're gonna put more money in this NHS, blah blah blah. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't happen. Same thing here. So like, ultimately, I think results. We want to see results. We want to see more money for NHS. We want to see more like schemes, education for black people, stuff like that, rather than just like what people say on that podium. You know what I mean? More real change.
yeah.
But what do you guys think of Black Lives Matter? Well, so I guess you guys are gonna have very different opinions on Black Lives Matter being nominated for Nobel Peace Prize.
What? I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
I think. Sure, I know they have a leader, so it would have surely been the leader who got it. How could a whole massive
I think the movement has just been nominated for like peace.
What peace? Tell me what the peace was. Where did the peace come from? I saw lots of fires.
Yeah, I feel bad for the media guy who's gonna have to do all the like, oh, can't use that picture. There's a car on fire in the background there. Can't use that picture. Okay, no fire in this picture. She's being peaceful. Yeah, I think it's complicated. I think you had peaceful and you had non-peaceful, but to say the whole movement period was like peaceful, I think is
intense.
funky.
No, do you know what I think? I think that the protest was intended to be peaceful. Initially, it was peaceful, but then because black people don't really get heard unless things get fucking thrown into the. Sorry, can I swear on this thing? Sorry.
You can swear as much as you want. Yeah.
Because black people don't get heard unless there's like a fire starting here or glasses breaking there, nothing's gonna happen. So it was like, Nogla, you pushed us to this. We wanted
so I think
away, you lot didn't want to have it. So here we go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I respect that people. Yeah, so even what you're saying, like, I can take that, but then I think what you're saying is like, yes, it wasn't peaceful in some instances or some parts of it, but it was for a good cause, or like for the ultimate cause. But that's still saying like it wasn't peaceful. Do you get what I mean? So I feel like admit that wasn't peaceful, but then you can argue like it can't be peaceful.
I mean, the cause. I feel like people deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, right? When they know what they want and they get it. Martin Luther King deserved that Nobel Peace Prize because he meticulously thinking every single day, devoted his life to saying, how can I have the best outcome for my people. Where is the manifesto of the Black Lives Matter?
You don't want to read it. You don't want to read it.
What is the? Do you get what I mean? What is the strong message here? Because I don't really feel like there was an actual message. It was just kind of like George Floyd died. Anarchy. Do you get what I mean? It wasn't organised. It wasn't organised.
Yeah, this is the whole thing of like the movement versus the
right, let's get
message.
Together, like tweet. But it wasn't like, you know what? It wasn't years of thinking this through. Who deserves a Nobel Peace Prize from one day of like, let's do this?
Yeah, I think it's this message versus movement thing. Like people are saying, oh, you can't say the organization who like have all these controversial things are the same thing as like just Black Lives Matter, because obviously everybody agrees. Well, not everyone. We all agree Black Lives Matter, but it's like when you talk about the organization and some of their policies and like that's a whole different thing. But I feel like you need to use a different name. You can't just say like, oh, they're different. You have to say like, if they're the same name, then it's too like entangled, I think. But yeah, it's a mad time with everything. But I think we're all a bit pessimistic, and I feel like things are getting better. Do you feel optimistic? Come on, Jocelyn.
I'm just waiting to see what happens. Like, I'm giving it till like Easter, just to see what happens. Because
Easter's coming soon.
Huh?
Easter's gonna be here. Like, it's already February. Fuck.
Exactly. I'm just waiting to see what happens because it's too early to say like what happened. There's been so many black deaths last year. So many. Even if it wasn't related to the protests, it was like Chadwick, Kobe, who else?
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, I'm just waiting to see what happens this year. Can't lie,
Yeah. But I think it's like what you said earlier, like all this sadness, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's protests, whether it's like amazing people that you've spoken about there dying, it does make us feel like we need to be more grateful for what we have. And I feel like that's the takeaway message. Like, just be grateful for the family you have and your health, whatever it is that you do have, because people on our back doorstep are losing that stuff every day with health and everything like that. So
we definitely need to recognize our privileges. Like that's like you said, we need to recognize our privileges to make the world a better place, because people are too self-absorbed. I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly. Got to be self-aware.
Period.
Exactly. Well, I've really enjoyed that.
Same.
Yeah.
Very interesting conversation. You really picked my brain with that one. What was it?
Food for thought one. Oh,
yeah. Reverse racism, like white, like
the majority of
one. Yeah, the rap one.
I was like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So I put you on the spot here because obviously, like, this is the kind of shit we talk about all the time. So
I'm alright. Like, I enjoy like food, thought-provoking conversations. So
yeah, definitely, and yeah, so do we. So yeah, we love having you on here. It's been interesting to hear whether it's about time in Ghana, being a carer. I'm excited for what you do next in terms of like your career and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's all been good.
Thanks.
I want to see you on like the top bitch and like top business HR stuff. That'd be cool.
Thanks, guys.
You're gonna be running the country. So have you got any other like social media stuff that people can follow you on, or any other things you want to be doing?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I am trying to gain a following on TikTok. So if y'all want to follow me on TikTok, like, I'm not gonna say no or whatever.
Yeah, put that plug in there. We'll put it in the post.
IGTV post for everyone who wants to know that. So yeah.
So you have an IGTV post?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be IGTV, YouTube, Spotify, and then all that sort of stuff. We can put your TikTok. So what is it? Is it dancing? Is it?
Okay. So can I say my story?
Yeah.
Basically, I started TikTok because for about 2 years, I was like really insecure and stuff. And I just engaged in a lot of like, I want to say self-hate. I was very anxious. I wasn't very happy, basically.
Yeah.
But then one day I said, do you know who I am?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I said, wait, who have I been kidding this whole time? So I've decided to start TikTok and just literally just do me, whether it's makeup, whether it's me talking nonsense, whether it's me dancing. I don't know. It could be literally just me. That's my brand. It's just Jen.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the idea is to inspire people to be like, who cares about them? Just do whatever you want to do, girl.
I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely think that's such an important message right now. Like, I think as well, like people complain about TikTok and like social media and stuff like that being too much, but I feel like it is good that anyone can just have fun making up a dance, like making jokes, whatever, and just spread like positive
Exactly.
vibes. Like that's the main thing right now.
Wrong, not people, but like some people are using it for the wrong reasons. Like social media is a powerful tool. People just abuse it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll definitely be promoting that, and I'm sure a lot of people will be into that and following you, hopefully. And yeah, this was a really good interview.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
we'll have you on another time, I'm sure, as well. Obviously, we're very busy. Guests, wrong waiting list, but we'll have you back on.
I'll be more than happy to come back.
Definitely.
All right then, guys.
Okay. Well, take care. Have a good week. Hopefully see you soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.